Hello and welcome to this video where I paint the design of a square Kufi Arabic calligraphy painting. It says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is Arabic for in the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful, and it is something that Muslims say before they start any task or activity. So this pattern is based on a calligraphy style that has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. I hope that you enjoy, and I'll explain to you step by step how to paint such a design with gouache paint on paper. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Let's get started. In order to create this pattern, you need a compass, a pencil, an eraser, a ruler or straight edge of some sort. This is of course a smaller one, but I also can use a large ruler just like this. I will also need a ruling pen, and I will need some gouache paint, of course, or you will always need a brush and maybe a jar to have your water for the painting process. That's it for a painting like this. Follow along if you have these tools. If you have different tools, feel free to use them, and let's get into the painting process step by step. The first step we're going to make is mark the half line of this page, and it's approximately at 30 centimeters, so I'm going to put a mark at 15 centimeters on the right hand side and 15 centimeters on the left, and I will join this line again very lightly. I want all my lines to be light and erasable. I hope that you can see it in the recording, but this is going to be my horizontal midline of the page. Now, according to my design, and I'm going to put my design here so that you can hopefully take a snapshot of it. You can record and take a snapshot of this so that you can work on your own painting based on this design. Now, if you count the number of units on this grid, it's going to be 23 units by 23 units. So that's our painting that we're going to be painting today. And it says Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so it's a square Kufi design, and it's spiral, so it goes from top right all the way around in a clockwise manner. So again, we have 23 squares by 23 squares. So we're going to try and locate the middle of our page, and our page is around 42 centimeters wide, which means that our midpoint is going to be around the 21 centimeters somewhere here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just mark this midpoint and then onto our compass. Now we want to draw a relatively large circle or a relatively large grid. We start with a circle, of course, but in order to do that, our compass might not have an opening wider than this. So let's see, I think this is good enough. So if I just make a rough mark here, And again, try to measure the distance between the midpoint and this point is gonna be probably 11, so that's not quite enough what I want. So because it's 23, let's call it 24 by 2, so I want it at least 12 centimeters if I'm gonna take my unit as 1 centimeter. I'm gonna explain all this in more detail, but if I now go, let's say up to here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna erase the other 2 marks, and I'm gonna measure from the middle to this mark. So here you go, that's 12.5. I think that's good enough because I'm gonna go for a unit of 1 centimeter. So again, I'm just gonna delete this just to keep things neat and tidy, and I'm gonna keep the opening of my compass, and then I'm just gonna go around and draw my circle. Now this circle is only there to draw a grid. Those of you who know how to extend, and this is the only place we're going to be doing this, but we need to extend our compass. So to get a bigger opening, I want to get the pencil to the top here and mark from this intersection an arc on the top, and then another arc on the bottom. I'll then go to the left hand side and mark another arc on the top, another arc on the bottom, and don't forget to bring back my compass or my pencil to a measurement that works for me. And then I join this center line, and that is just helping me draw this grid. So this is my center line at the moment. So now I get back to the radius of my main circle here, and I start drawing the arcs that will help me find and locate the corners of the square. So that's at this intersection of the 2 arcs of the radius of the circle from the 2 outermost parts of the, or 2 outermost points here. That's going to be my first corner. This intersection is going to be my second corner. Third corner over here. And my fourth corner. Those who have attended my lessons before know that I always ask people to please keep your compass needle away from you. This is just for health and safety. We don't want to be accidentally. So that's one side of the square. Line up these points nicely. That's the left side of my grid. Top side, again, line these points nicely. This is a tricky one, there's not enough room for my ruler, but I'm just gonna improvise. That's one, and then again these intersections line up these points nicely. And here is my other side. Now, we said that we're gonna go for a centimeter, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna try and mark this measurement on the page very lightly again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our ruler like this, and we're just gonna mark the centimeter mark just very lightly. We're then gonna take our compass and measure to this opening. And once we fix that opening, whatever it is, whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be super accurate, but once you do that, you have to ensure and make sure that you don't change the opening of the compass until we're finished. So we're gonna stick with this 1 centimeter measurement until the very end. Now again, revisiting our design, we've got 23 units, which are gonna be 23 centimeters. And we need to start from somewhere in the middle. Now 23 divided by 2 is actually gonna be 11.5. So let's call it 11, and we're gonna measure 11 squares this side, and we're gonna measure 12 squares this side, and we're gonna do the same. It doesn't matter too much because we're just gonna erase whatever extra lines we have at the end that we don't need, and I'll explain this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on the top, and we're gonna mark 1, and then from that point onwards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so that's my 12 points. I'm gonna do the same at the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, very good. Now to the right hand side, we're gonna only do 11. Remember, 11 plus 12 is 23, and that's all we need. So we won't actually need even that line. So we're gonna be rubbing all these unnecessary added line that we don't need from the original drawing. Now, before I start, I like to check again against my first measurement, because that lead wears away, and when it wears away, it's just going to increase the distance. So let's make sure that it's the same distance. We might need to adjust it a little bit. In this case we don't, it's good lead. So, and we're also marking very lightly, so it won't wear too much. So that's 1. Remember we said 11. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now again, you can rub out the rest. You don't need it, but that's okay. We're gonna do all this at the end. Now let's do it again from here. the opposite side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's very good. What we're going to do now is join these lines. The way we do this is by the ruler. We're going to line up 11 to 11, and that's my outermost line of the grid. I draw my lines very lightly. I don't want dark marks with the pencil. And remember, if I feel any line is off, if I feel a line is off, I can always correct it. Okay, I can always go back and correct it. I don't want to be leaving any lines that feel off. So this one feels a bit off. So let me go and just redraw it. It was just very slightly. And it's very important that I keep my measurements and maintain that equal distances. So this one is a bit off. It's always the points that are away from the eye or further away from the eye that makes it a bit challenging, but that's okay. And remember that this will all be erased or will be inked, so all these underlying lines will not show in the final drawing. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 this side. And then you're going to go back and do it horizontally. We continue with the lines. Okay, and that was the last vertical line. Now we're gonna go and do it horizontally. So again, we start on this line from the middle. We make sure that our opening is adjusted and it is accurate, and in this case it is. So we mark, let's say 11, okay, let's say 12 to the top, 11 to the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we're gonna go and do 11 on this side as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now onto the 12 to the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then 12 this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So again, what we need to do now is join these lines, and I start with the top. So that's my 11th line, and I try to start from only the line that I need. No need to go beyond that, because that's just my grid now. Okay, as you can see, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hopefully you can see our grid is nice and even and uniform with no errors. Well, not massive errors anyway. Errors will always be there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then onto the 12s to the bottom. Okay, last line. Very good. Now I've got my grid and I could check again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So I could just bring my eraser and rub anything that is not needed beyond my 23. I'm gonna do this towards the end, but I'm just showing you the idea. And I also count horizontally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Very good. And again, just for ease of mind, and I don't want to confuse you, I'm gonna rub out whatever is on the left hand side and whatever is also beyond the top, which I don't need. And on to the next step. Just missed out to also rub the top here, which is not needed. So again, I'm going to do that in a better way towards the end. I'm not really bothered about this now. I just want to make sure that you know that 23 by 23, and that's our grid, and that's how we draw and paint Kufi or square Kufi. So what we're going to do is anything in this negative space is actually going to have no sides. So this is the only part that is going to be filled in with paint. So you could either go ahead, get your brush and paint and start painting, but you're not going to get those sharp lines very easily unless and until you're a very, very skilled painter with very steady hands, in which case you're free to go ahead and try it yourself. But in my case, I need to remind myself to again remove these lines. So I could actually use this rubber. So just very roughly I can remove this, and then this whole line again is something that I can remove. I will then also remove these because that's all blank. So I will count and start, let's say from the bottom. So 1, 2, 3. So that's all again gonna be removed. It's not gonna be inked. Anything that is not gonna be inked can be rubbed out to make it easier. So this is all gonna be inked as we said, and we're just gonna go ahead and clear it. I actually did a mistake and I should have kept this, but that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back with my ruler and fix it. So this is all, of course, connected. There aren't any this line is going to be connected, and then this is all going to be blank, and then we're going to have this, which is going to be a dot that I'm still thinking about the color for, but maybe we go with the color green. So that's okay. I don't need to think about it too much. But what I could do is very lightly with the pencil, I could dash what I'm going to be painting over. So I know that I could just slightly mark it with my pencil. Because I know that this is going to be filled. Now, this is not going to be filled, so this is the part that is going to be clear. So that could be actually rubbed out. So I could rub it out now. And again, I rub out this part. This is going to be a negative space, so I am going to be erasing it more thoroughly, I would say, once I finish. Now, if this is blank, as we said, this dot is going to be dashed just like that. I probably could use a different kind of pencil. So this is going to be dashed, and then I count. It's easier to count from the bottom here. So you've got one, which is your black frame or your darkened frame, and then your blank, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your alif. So you could actually fill that in with your pencil, and then it's very easy from there. So now you could just fill in all this and leave one space, and then you could fill in 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, and this one, and then you're gonna cover this. And then the last one is here. So as you can see, I'm just following this plan. So let me continue with this. And I'm just doing this so that I don't get confused towards the end. Okay, that's the whole plan. And again, I'm working very lightly, because if I make a mistake, I want to be able to correct it. Okay, so this is blank, and then this is my meme, and then I'll leave this, and I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll go from here. And then another 2, and then, and I've got a dot here, so Ar-Rahman, and I have an alif here. So that's Ar-Rahman, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So now on top of this is a blank, and this, from this side to that one, is Lam. Going 2, 3. And then I continue till the very end, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blank and a dot, blank and a dot, and then onto this. And of course all the top is darkened, so I stop here and then I have to go across. But before I do that, so I've got my meme actually coming to here, and then I have 1, 2, 3, okay, and then I could take this one, and then my last thing I want to do is my meme, and that's it. I think I've covered all of it. Let me go over it again just to check I haven't done any errors. So Allah Rahman Ar-Rahim. Okay, 2 dots. Bism. And that's good. Now on to preparing my paint and starting to ink with the ruling pen, which is the most exciting part. Okay, so on to the next step. I've got my ruling pen, I've got some paint, and I've decided to go for some green gouache. Hopefully I don't regret this, and we'll see how it goes. This is my cloth, so I keep one here, but I've also tried to keep my water jar in some sort of plastic containers so that I don't get it messing up my drawing. So the first thing I need to do is just get some of that paint around, and with the water just getting it to be, let's say, the consistency of creamy milk or milky cream. So let's try that out. I just put my brush over here. Get a piece of scrap paper. And I open my So first thing is I want to test whether this green is transparent, and it's not, so that's a good sign. So it's opaque enough for me, and I just want to dilute more of this paint and then start loading up my rolling pen. As you can see, I load it away from my painting, and to be fair, you don't want more than probably 3/4 of a centimeter, or maybe even 1/2 centimeter. A lot of it could cause the ink or the paint to spill on your painting. But because this is a good ruling pen of a very good quality, I'm not worried about that. So again, I have another cloth where I just swipe the outside of this ruling pen. I try to make it a little bit wider because I want the line to be a bit wider, and I'll start working from my design. I'll keep my design in front of me, and the first thing I want to do is go over the top. So I get my ruler and I start with my ruling pen. It's already dried up, so it's always good to keep I'm holding my breath, or I'm supposed to be holding my breath when I'm doing this. And as you can see, I have probably made the line a bit off, so I'm gonna go back and just shift my ruling pen a little bit towards the top to fix that. But that's okay, that's just gonna be thickness, and it's gonna be barely noticeable. Now the next step is to take it from this point to this point, and again I rinse my ruling pen and I just clean it between these sessions. What I've noticed is that the paint is not leaving the pen very easily, which means that it needs to be diluted a bit more. Not too much, but it needs to be just a little bit more diluted. So let's go again, and I think that's good enough. Let's wipe it again, and then we take it to this line this time, from here to here. So here we go. And this time is spot on. So I could carry on, but because these are a little bit of smaller segments, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do them with the smaller ruler, which makes it easier for me to see if I can locate it. But let's carry on. So this time we have these two lines. So it's very important to adjust and take your time to adjust very carefully. That's one. And then you have three over here. Then another 3 over here. As you can see, the paint is drying up very easily in the rolling pin. So this tells me that it needs to be diluted again. Okay, so I go in with the paint. Load it up. Wipe the excess. And then off I go for these 2 points. Now these 2 points start from here. Then I've got 5 That's 5. I will then move on. So I've got 1 over here. And another 2 over here. Then I've got 1. Just need to fix that one. Here we go. Got 1 in the middle. And I've got another 2. Okay, then I've got another 4. And I'll rinse my pen, dry it out, clean it. It's very important to clean your pen. And onto loading it again. Probably overdid it this time, but that's okay. So again, I'm just gonna test it here, and then off we go. Where is my next line? This is my next line. And I've also got these 2. And I have all this. Okay. And then on to the next, because I still have some paint in my pen. It's 1. And there is this one in the middle. Another one here. And I've got 3 of them. Over here. Okay. I could probably, while I'm at it, do these 2. This one over here. And these 2 over here. I have another 2 here. Another 3 over here. I've got 1 over here. And I've got 3 over here. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just doing the horizontal lines first from top to bottom so that I don't get my ruler or straight edge on these lines and smudge them. Okay, so that's a bit of planning that you always need to do. So it's drying up a bit. Then all this over here. It's important to take your time. So you don't make mistakes. You can always fix mistakes, but so we've got this one here. Try to avoid making lots of mistakes. Some mistakes are fixable, and we could probably fix a lot of mistakes. However, it's always recommended that you minimize the mistakes. Okay, so now I clean my rolling pen again, or just rinse it, and then go and wet the paint again, and very slightly get or load my pen. Now you get the idea. I'm going to go over this line and then all of this line and then these 2. So 2 over here. And then another 2 here, and another 2 over here, and all this lamb. Always focus on where you're stopping. Remember, this is gouache, so it's probably easy to fix with a wet brush. However, we don't want to be needing to do that. We just want to do it neatly and in a way that looks Okay. That's okay, this is going to be painted over anyway. But again, that was a mistake. I wasn't supposed to do that. And you could see what I mean by mistakes and trying to minimize mistakes. On to the next line. I've got these 3 and these 5. And 5. Sometimes I try to keep my breath, hold my breath rather, and that helps me focus. Okay. That's another one. And then another one. And then I have 4 over here. 1 in the middle, another one in the middle. 4. I meant 3. 1 here. 1 here. 2 over here. 1 over there. And 1 towards the end. And then I have to do these 4. And do okay, and then have a dot over here. After which I need to load my ruling pen. Okay. One, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 2. One, 1, 1, 3. That's right, 3. 1. 1. 2. I've got 1 here and 1 down there. Another 1 here. And then, do I have any here? I do. I have 2 over here. And 1 over here that I missed, and another one that I missed. Then I have 3 here on the left. And I have 1 here. Then I have another one here. And 4 over here. I also have 1 in the middle that I've missed. Ooh, a few that I've missed actually. 1 over here, 1 over here, and another one over here. You could see that with some of them I just overreach for a millimeter or 2, and that's okay because I'm gonna paint all over that, so it's not gonna make a massive difference. I hope that doesn't confuse you. Okay, on to the next one. And I just need to adjust this a little bit, just a little bit. Sometimes I need to adjust the ruler. To make sure I know where I'm looking. And then the last lines at the bottom. Probably need to load my pen and get it just a little bit more paint this time, because these are gonna be longer lines. Wipe the excess. Then on to the last 2 lines before I let them dry and go over the vertical lines. So again, it's a good job that I quickly noticed that. I'm just gonna leave it there while we just draw. As a matter of fact, actually, let me leave this here. I'll just go over it with cloth and just take it away. Okay, we don't want to let it destroy our painting, and that happened because I had a lot of water in my paint and I've overloaded my pen, so that can happen. Let me try and finish that. Draw that line. Okay, and then the last line, for which I need to again load it just a little bit less this time, because you don't want to overload your pen and end up with spillage and problems like we've seen. But again, the good thing we know is that this will not show at the end. Okay, I overshot a bit, that's okay. I'm gonna again clean it with clear water and I'll show you how, but let me get rid of this first. Now this is all fixed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some clean water and another brush to clean this. Okay, so with just a damp brush, I will just dampen this part, and with a cloth I will erase it. But this is some adamant paint. Which will just go away. As you can see, this is how we just remove the paint. It might leave a very small mark there, which we might remove with a white marker later on, but not to worry, this is not a massive issue. Now it's time to go and do the vertical lines, and again we're back to our very reliable and sturdy ruling pen. Wipe the excess, get my ruler, and I will just want to make sure that this is all dry before I go over it, but this line doesn't need all that, so what I'm gonna do is just make sure that this is adjusted carefully. And off we go. Okay, I was a little bit off towards the end, so I'm gonna go over it again, but this time making sure that it's the right alignment. Okay, that's better. Just need a little bit more ink towards the end. Okay, and that's better. So that's really good stuff. Now I just want to make sure that all this is dry, which I think mostly is, and we could go over it with my ruler now, so hopefully nothing is smudged, and I think I'm mostly right this time, so okay, ink is drier this time. Again, let's go and get some paint loaded in our ruling pen. Okay, back to finish the line we started. Okay, that's quite good. Now onto these lines, and remember, we've got our guide to show us, so you could always look at our guide. I've got this line, this line, that line. So I keep my guide and I use that to help me decide which line, or to help me confirm really. First and then another 5. Then another 1. And then all the rest till the end. Okay, well, that's good drafting. And let's see what's next. So we've got this line here and we've got this line here. Let's see if this takes us. Has it got enough to take us till the end of this piece? Yes, it does. And just again quickly rinse our ruling pen, load it up, get some of the excess, and let's carry on. So we have one line over here and another over here, and that's good enough. And then I've got 2, 3 that need to go over here. And 1 that goes here, and 2 that go here. Here we go. So far so good. So again, I want to get my paint into my ruling pen. Remember to look at our guide every time we need to check something. It's always good to check. Okay. Okay. And then close some of these parts. Okay. And I think we've got this line here as well. Okay. And then another line here. And you might want to take a break and just relax for a bit, because you don't want to be making mistakes when you don't need to. So resting will always help you regain that focus. It's not a bad idea actually. So we've missed this line from the last time, but that's okay. We're gonna go over it and do it once we finish all this. We could actually try and do it with the small ruler, but I worry that we smudge something, so pen needs reloading. Maybe that's a sign telling us to slow down and rethink that step. Better safe than sorry. So okay. And off we go. Where is next? This line is next. Okay. We have these lines as well. Okay, hopefully you can see it coming together. But as you can see, using the ruling pen is actually fun. It can be quite satisfying. It can, however, be also very frustrating. So take it easy and just enjoy the process. Try to relax and focus and avoid mistakes. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. 1, 2. And then on to the next. Okay. Okay. Missed this line before as well. You can see that it's very easy to miss lines. Remember to that's not a line I need. I was about to make a mistake there. That's not a line I need. That is the only one that I need here. Okay. Now we're talking. This one. This one. Of course, missed that line as well. And that one. Okay. Okay. And now we have these very interesting lines. Let me get to my paint. Okay. So let's do the ones that we are sure about. So this one, let's put up page. We are over here. So what we need to do is join this one. Whoop. You have to be careful here because it's very diluted here. Okay, and then leave one. We will do all these three. And then another one here. And did I miss one? Yes, I missed one. But that's okay, because it's not gonna make a massive difference. And then one here and one there, another one over here. Okay, now maybe I now start working with the smaller ruler. Because with the smaller ruler, I could see more. Okay, and then I've got another one here. Got one here, but I'm not gonna do it now. Okay, so now onto these. So I've got one over here. I've got one over here. I've got one over here. Over here. And the last one over here. Okay. And then onto the next line. Okay. And it's that one. Yep. Always be careful with this ruling pen that it doesn't actually damage the paper underneath. So make sure that you use it lightly. This needs a little bit adjusting. It's okay if I make it a little bit thicker. Again, in the grand scheme of things, it won't matter that much. Okay, and then I've got my last two lines. Okay, knee is dried a bit. Needs rinsing, cleaning, wiping. Brush needs a little bit. And let's do this again. Okay, this needs redoing. I'll let it dry and then redo it with the, I think it's dry enough now. Maybe this just needs to be dry. And off we go for this line. We made a bit of a mess, but we'll fix it again, don't worry. And that's it. And we'll let it dry. We'll come back to paint it. Okay, so now we get to do the lines that we have missed, such as this one. And this one. And we also missed this one. Okay. Now that we've got all done, and we also created a little bit of a mess, I just want to finish whatever I have in my rolling pen, just to not waste any of that good paint. Clean my rolling pen, store it away, and then on to my painting process. Now, what I need to do is, again, with the brush, I'll start filling in the shapes. And what I want to do is try to pick a fine brush that allows me to really stay within the lines that I have created with the rolling pen. And that's how I can get more accurate, and that's how my rolling pen has helped me get that accuracy. So what I'll do is I'll put a piece of paper so that I can rest my hands over it and not smudge the painting. And if you're right-handed like me, you're gonna start from the top left corner, working your way down and right across the painting. If you're left-handed, you're going to start from the top right corner, working your way down and left. So that helps you. Again, a little bit of planning will go a long way. We'll let this dry and then we're gonna go and rub out the pencil. Hope you are enjoying it so far. It's taken a bit of time, but it's important to take our time when we're doing such work. It's not perfect, we've got some smudges here and there, but overall it's a very good result, and I think to get a better result I need to even be much slower than that, but everything can be overridden by a white marker. So we'll let it dry and then we will clean up all the rest. Now that everything has been dry, we start going over the painting with our rubber to remove all the unneeded pencil marks. As you can see, I am going with my eraser over line by line, and I try to do that steadily and calmly in order not to ruin anything. In my painting. So probably all fixed outside. Now the inside lines, and I try not to overdo it, and I try to stick to the spaces in between, so I don't really need to go very aggressively over the painted parts. Okay, so I think I've got all of them now. There's probably some left here and here. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for watching. I could probably also go through these or over these with a black pen or a black fine liner, but I like the design as it is. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section, and if there is a pattern or an Arabic name or word or any name or word that you want me to write in Arabic calligraphy and show it to you in a video, please feel free to again leave it in the comment section. All the best, enjoy, and thank you for watching.